Embattled Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir has stepped down and consultations are underway to form a transitional council to run the country. The news of his ouster has been received with jubilation in the streets of Khartoum after days of protests by both civilians and the military.
Tens of thousands of Sudanese took to the streets in the center of Khartoum in jubilation, dancing and chanting anti-Bashir slogans. Their joy induced by the announcement by the Minister of Production and Economic Resources in North Darfur, Adel Mahjoub Hussein, that the president had finally given in to pressure and stepped down. The minister further stated that consultations to form a military council to take over power were ongoing. Sudanese sources confirmed the report that Bashir was at the presidential residence but under heavy guard. The country's military is also expected to make an important announcement soon. The fall of al-Bashir coming after an unprecedented 6-day sitting at the palace, with the country's residents demanding that he steps down. The protests, which erupted in December, had become the biggest challenge yet to Bashir's 3 decades of iron-fisted rule. Crowds of demonstrators have spent 6 nights defiantly camped outside the sprawling headquarters complex, which also houses Bashir's official residence and the defense ministry. Not even repeated volleys of tear gas from members of the powerful National Intelligence and Security Service has dampened the resolve of those taking part in the protest. Not even the death of 11 people, including members of the security forces, would put a stop to the demonstrations. Officials say so far 49 people have died in protest-related violence since the demonstrations first erupted in December. Bashir, who is wanted by the International Criminal Court on charges of war crimes and genocide, came to power in a 1989 coup. He remains one of the longest-serving presidents in Africa.
And of course, we'll be bringing you more details of the ongoing situation in Sudan later on in our subsequent bulletins. Now, African Union Special Envoy Raila Odinga has maintained that countries in Africa must invest in infrastructure for the continent to realize socio-economic transformation. Odinga was speaking at the Africa Integrated High-Speed Railway Project workshop here in Nairobi, and Vincent Odor was following the session and now joins us live. Vincent, what are some of the highlights from that particular event?
Absolutely, the opposition leader, who is also African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructural Development, Raila Odinga, was the chief guest at Intercontinental Hotel here in Nairobi, whereby they were having the first validation workshop for the African Integrated High-Speed Railway Project, whose consultancy was launched in December 2018. And basically the project aims at interconnecting African capitals with one another and also with other economic and industrial hubs, together with major tourist locations across the African continent. And this is basically geared towards attaining the objective of the social framework that aims at enabling the African continent realize socio-economic transformation. One of the things that really came up is that Raila Odinga spoke on the need to really establish an African Development Fund where different countries in Africa will be able to contribute some amount of money in that fund to be able to finance some of the infrastructural development in the continent of Africa, because Odinga argues that they realized that in most countries in Africa, a lot of money is lying idle. Monies, like those from the sovereign fund. And he's saying if each country can contribute some amount to that fund, then Africa will be able to fund some of the major infrastructural development in the continent of Africa. Odinga also spoke about the need to really curb corruption, saying that corruption is derailing some of the major projects in Africa, because through corruption, people are able to inflate the cost of infrastructure, making most of the infrastructures to stall. And One of the things that also came up is the need to really cut down the issue to do with visibility studies, because Odinga argues that in Africa we spend a lot of money conducting visibility studies as opposed to spending that amount of money in actual implementation of these projects, and therefore countries end up spending more money on visibility studies instead of using less money to implement these projects. And the bottom line is the need to really invest in infrastructure in Africa so that Africa will be able to realize socio-economic transformation and also make transnational trade possible, whereby countries will be able to realize their greatest potential. Earlier on, Raila spoke to the delegates who were here because it is a workshop that started yesterday and it is expected to end today. And today's meeting brought together experts from various agencies in Africa. That includes the Department of Infrastructure and Energy of the AU, and also the African Development Agency of NEPAD, and also experts from COMESA and other development agencies in Africa. And earlier on, Raila Odinga, as the chief guest, spoke on various issues, and these are some of the things he spoke about during today's last session for this first validation workshop.
That we will be able to move much faster if we actually transformed ourselves into a structure similar to that of EU. The will is there in the AU. And I believe that the Vision 2063 is also achievable. But a lot of work needs to be done to achieve it, particularly in the field of infrastructure. And here I'm talking about the railways, I'm talking about the highways, we're talking about the ICT, fiber optic networks in the continent, and energy. They also are dealing with air transport, that we want to create open skies in the continent. Yes. To me, this is what you can say the low-hanging fruits, which you can pluck quickly.
Therefore, this high-speed railway project is just one of the enablers of the framework that was geared and agreed by the African Union head of states, who agreed to really partner and also integrate ideals or ideas of shared vision and also common purpose for development with an agenda of 2063. And therefore, this is going to be an enabler of several flagship projects that African countries want to implement for the next 50 years, ever since they agreed on that in 2013. Therefore, this is a matter of wait and see, and get to see what they'll be able to achieve in 50 years' time. For now, I'm taking you back to studio.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent, for that. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has been lauded for his leadership, which Mauritius leaders described as transformative. Speaking when he hosted a state banquet in honor of President Kenyatta, who is in Mauritius on a four-day state visit, Prime Minister Pravind Jugnauth termed the Kenyan leader as the architect of a new Kenya. The Mauritius Prime Minister said President Kenyatta's Big Four development agenda is in many ways similar to the development goals being pursued by his government in order to achieve economic growth, shared prosperity, and to improve quality of life for Mauritians.
Your Big Four agenda, launched in 2017, carves out a vision of growth, shared prosperity, and improved quality of life for your people and for your country, but equally for the region.
My visit to your beautiful country is an excellent opportunity to expand the scope of our bilateral cooperation with a view to enhance the cordial relations existing between our two countries. I believe it further presents us an opportunity to work together in areas of mutual interest, including trade and investment, financial services, agriculture, transport, both marine and air, communication, culture, education, tourism, and research as well.
Now, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka launched registration of Huduma number in Meru County as he continues to rally Kenyans behind the government. Speaking in Maua town, Kalonzo said that the Huduma number is important for security purposes. He assured them that they would still get government services even without the Huduma number. Now, according to the County Commissioner Alan Masharia, Meru County is at 48% in the registration process.
Sasa hii namba itatusaidia kwa sababu mtu wa shababu wengine wanachukua ID ya Kenya, wanakuja wanalipua sisi Nairobi. Hii namba hii, mtu aina hiyo anashikwa mapema kabisa.
Well, a section of religious leaders in the country have called on politicians mentioned in corruption scandals to step aside for investigations until their names are cleared for the sake of integrity. They pointed out that development in the country has been hindered mostly by corruption and land conflicts. Speaking after a two-day county dialogue conference held in Narok town, the National Clergy and the Supreme Council of Kenyan Muslims stated that it is important to resolve historical land injustices through dialogue to prevent conflict among communities. And a man who allegedly killed a 5-year-old boy over the weekend was charged this morning in Murang'a. The suspect, Paul Njuguna Njoroge, appeared before resident magistrate Sheila Nyaga, who ordered him to be placed under police custody for 8 days. The suspect allegedly slashed to death the minor using a panga after his marriage proposal was turned down by the mother in Ndutume village, Murang'a, on April 7th. At the scene of the murder, the police recovered a cup, an identity card and blood-stained panga believed to have been left behind by the suspect as he escaped. Mother of the deceased was not at home at the time of the incident. All right, we'll now be taking a look at what's been making headlines in the world of sports, and we have Warada Kiru on standby to bring us all that in just a short break.
A very good afternoon to you. It is time to play on NTV, and my name is Warada Kiru. The match hyped Barcelona versus Manchester United quarter-final first-leg match did not quite live up to expectations, with the Catalans nicking a 1-0 win at Old Trafford courtesy of an own goal. This as Ajax and Juventus served up a thriller that saw both teams score beautiful goals in a 1-1 draw. United match, but the Ajax versus a Juve match actually served up the thrills. And we go to Mombasa with some teams already having secured semi-final qualification of the Brookside Term 1 Games, National Secondary School Games. It is down to the final day of pool matches to decide on the remaining semi-finalists. Meanwhile, athletics is taking center stage at the Mbaraki grounds. Let's cross over to Aida Waringa with more from the track. Aida, what test so far?
Thanks, Oroth. And before I actually get to the action here, I will agree wholeheartedly with you on one thing. That Ajax versus Juventus game was absolutely fire. I agree, it was the best game amongst the two. But look, going on to things here at the Mbaraki Sports Club, it was athletics for the morning session. As you can see, if my cameraman will pan out, the action is actually over, but some action still remains behind me. It is the final event, but when we talk about all matters on track, it's actually done. So just to take you through a few of the results, we did have a few finals when we talk about the 5,000 meters and the 3,000 meters, and Warote Rift Valley has dominated the track events here. And the funny thing about it is it's dominated both the long distance and the short distance, which surprised a few people here and there. They did win the 200 meters boys heats, and of course the 3,000 meters, I beg your pardon, girls final was won by Anna Sisho of Rift Valley, as was the 3,000 meters finals steeplechase girls that was won as well by Rift Valley, that being Betty Jeruto. Well, we will be crossing over to rugby that's currently going on at Shimo Latewa Warote. There are the 7 semi-finals, of which Laser Hill has won its semi-final. Want to cross over quickly that way after this link and just give you the updates on that side as well. For the rugby 15s, there is a semi-final pairing of Dagoretti versus Kangaru. Now, Kangaru had mixed results, I will put it, because they did win day 1, lost day 2, but they've managed to recover on day 3, and they have made the semi-final where they will be facing off against Dagoretti. And Kakamega, the very informed Kakamega High, will be taking on Alliance in the second semi-final. So when we talk about hockey, there is the really big one today between Meru School and St. George's, but that won't be here at Mbaraki, it won't be at Shimo Latewa, it will be at Shanzu Teachers Training College. And the winner takes all between Meru School and St. George's. It's the last pool game of their particular group, and it's basically going to decide who will get that last slot when we talk about the hockey semi-finals. As for handball, Warote, we went through a bit of it yesterday. Defending champions Kimi Lili well into the semi-finals, where their onslaught in terms of trying to defend their title is still very much on. So lots going on this side of Mombasa, not so much here at Mbaraki where the athletics action is over, Warote, but we will be heading to Shimo Latewa where a lot is still currently going on. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Aidan. It's lovely to see you getting into the groove of the school games, because the school games is where you get to represent your schools, and it is brought to you by Brookside. And after the excitement of the UEFA Champions League, tonight we'll see the UEFA Europa League quarterfinals of first leg matches take center stage. After overturning a 2-goal deficit to eliminate French side Rennes, English Premier League club Arsenal will welcome Italy's Napoli to the Emirates with striker Pierre. And for those who have to endure Thursday night football, they'll be watching. And the national under-18 football team was handed a footballing lesson by Algeria in its second match of the Union of North African Federations under-18 tournament. The Junior Stars went behind 4-0 in the first half before being eventually hammered 5-1 by the Algerians, with Kenya having lost 1-0 to Egypt. Focus now shifts to its third match against Tanzania on Friday and the final game against Morocco on Sunday. Regarding the Kenyan Premier League, on Thursday, action will see Tusker Tharaka face KCB at Machakos, Nzoia Sugar play Vihiga in Sudi, and Western Steamer tackle Kariobangi Sharks in Kisumu. And across the borders on the third leg of the 2019 Formula One season, docks in China with leader Valtteri Bottas of Mercedes wary of the Ferrari threat. This as a reigning world champion, Lewis Hamilton will be aiming to win the Chinese Grand Prix for a sixth time.
We saw the second race already.
Soap operas, but I doubt any scriptwriter in the world would script this ending. A routine penalty that turns out to be the luckiest goal in football that you'll ever see. Have a look. Saying in a very heavy Mexican accent is incredible. And Zainab, I did tell you I have something for you at 1 p.m. I hope you enjoyed it.
I actually did enjoy it. Well, thank you so much, Varo. That was an incredible goal there. Well, away from that, the 60th edition of the annual Kenya Schools and Colleges Drama Festivals at the Kibabii University has been highlighted by wide-ranging topics, with one topic especially standing out: corruption. Kericho Teachers Training College staged a play titled Riddles of Sangoma, which tells the tale of two fictional countries, Peking and Sangoma. The play unfolds into a familiar script where Sangoma is characterized by famine and poverty despite receiving aid from Peking.
Tuhurumie zamani, ni haki tu ndiyo dawa. Sijali tapanga nani, mikakati si tunayo. Njoo tupange na nyinyi, rahisi kabisa hiyo. Wewe, Mungu awe nani? Hautaumia, yetu kazi kuwafyonza. Ni ujanja tatumia, wa kufyonza na kufyonza. Chukua weka hapa, nyingine ongeza hapa. Ni matita tutawapa, ili wabaki tu hapa. Nyingine picha kwa pipa.
Well, Chinese manufacturing company Fast Automotive Works has partnered with East African motor dealer Trans-Africa Motors to establish a new showroom exhibiting specialized trucks and buses along Enterprise Road in Nairobi. This is part of the over 1.2 billion shillings expansion plan, coupled by the demand of buses and light, medium and heavy trucks in the Kenyan market. Trans-Africa has sold over 6,000 units of FAW products in the last 14 years and plans on increasing the production to 2,000 units, providing employment opportunities to over 600 people.
Currently, we are producing 500. We are expanding to 1,000 units, which will cost around 1.2 billion for the new expansion.
And in other news making headlines beyond our borders, India's largest election, the biggest in history, kicked off today with Prime Minister Narendra Modi seeking a second term from 900 million voters. Thousands of parties and candidates will run for office between now and May 19th in 543 constituencies across the nation of 1.3 billion people, with results not due until May 23rd.
Opinion polls put 68-year-old Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a favourite, but he faces a tough challenge from two scions of India's storied Nehru Gandhi dynasty, attempting to capitalise on his poor record on jobs and rural poverty. Rahul Gandhi, 48, is hoping to become the latest Prime Minister from his dynasty and, aided by sister Priyanka, has accused Modi of causing a national disaster. Because of the vastness of India, the elections will be held in 7 phases, from the tea plantations of Darjeeling to the slums of Mumbai to the tropical Andaman Islands and everywhere in between. Phase 1 today will see some 142 million people able to cast ballots. Security forces were on high alert due to the perennial danger of violence at election time, with 5 people, including a local lawmaker, killed in an ambush by suspected Maoist rebels this week. Some of the 11 million electronic voting machines have been transported through jungles and carried up mountains, including to a hamlet near the Chinese border with just 1 voter.
Well, that report there brings us to the end of our bulletin this hour. Many thanks for keeping us company. My name is Zainab Ismail. Have a good afternoon.